Yeah, that is loud. Good evening and welcome to City Council meeting of June 16th, 2026. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Too many buttons. Thank you, Mayor. Council members present and establishing a quorum are Council members Fulcher, Beaumont, Walker, Gamble, Fisher, and Blair.
Thank you. Councilmember Hanford indicated that they would be absent unless there are objections. Their absence will be considered excused. Okay, thank you. Hearing no objections, their absence is excused. Councilmember Beaumont, please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The first item of business is public comments. This is a limited opportunity for people to speak to the council during this council meeting. Pursuant to council rules of procedure, oral public comment is limited to in-person comment only and must comply with the standards set forth in the council rules. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Information on where to send written comments is in tonight's agenda and on the screen. Clerk, were there any written comments received for tonight's meeting?
There was, and it was sent directly to City Council.
Thank you. Is there anyone signed up for public comment tonight? No, okay. Is there anyone in the public or in the audience who would like to speak? Oh, okay. Seeing no one wishing to speak, the public comments portion of the meeting is now closed. Next item on the agenda is the Snow Isle Libraries update with Eric Howard and Peggy Nelson. Please come forward. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you, council members. Thank you very much for having us tonight. We're very excited to be here. 2026 is a very big year, so what we're trying to do is talk about the priorities that our board set for us for 2026 and just kind of take you through some of the more kind of big picture pieces, and then Peggy is going to talk more specifically about what's going on here at your library. So the first slide that we have set up starts to paint the picture for who we are. We're 23 libraries across 2 counties, Snohomish and Island County, and we're also a bookmobile, and it's actually not a bookmobile, it's a fleet where we serve over 300 daycares and senior centers in places that are more geographically remote from one of those 23 libraries that we have. Last year, we made more library cards than we have ever done in our history. So we are more popular now than we have ever been, which is we were directors from across the country when we would get together to meet after the pandemic. We're really contemplating what is this new world going to look like for us as people's habits have changed. And we are pleasantly surprised. We do over 6,000 events a year across those 23 libraries. And we're bringing and connecting more and more people together, which is actually the vision statement for the library, is to connect everyone to their library. So I'm really pleased that we're having that success. I'm also a big advocate, since we are a learning institution, to recognize even though we're doing a good job in many areas, we need to continue to learn what we need to do to change to meet the changing needs of our community. So the big priority for this year, we have a few, but one of the big priorities is to do a strategic plan. And so we are doing surveys, focus groups. You can go to our website and click on one of the surveys. And I was just talking to one of our staff who's helping to oversee that exercise, and I was asking her, what is the feedback that you're getting from the majority of folks who come to these focus groups? And the theme that seems to come across the most is people don't recognize how many different programs we do and all the different resources we provide. So everything from early education to helping people with their resumes, advancing their careers, and then just also helping people find some joy in this world as well. So we do that as well. Some of the other projects that we're working on includes celebrations around America 250. And we also have some key capital projects that we're working on as well. So you may have heard your neighbor not too far away in Lake Stevens is opening a brand new library this fall. It's the first two-story building that we have in the system, and it is important. I was up recently in Darrington, and sometimes when I'm out in places like Darrington or Clinton, and I start talking about the library in Lake Stevens, they look at me with kind of curious eyes saying, why are you telling me anything about a library in Lake Stevens? And the reason is pretty simple, and I'll nerd out on you for just a second as a librarian. The library in Lake Stevens is going to have 3 times the collection size that the current one does. And that means it serves everybody in the 23 libraries because we share those resources. So that's one way we really help leverage the public's resources is we're sharing. So you know, when you go to one of the early learning programs that we have for story time here in Monroe, and you see the parents walking out with that stack of books, I know that many, if not most, could do that week after week if it was a bookstore. But they also couldn't do that if it weren't for the fact that we're sharing those resources across the 23 libraries and making that possible for those families as well. So those are some of the key projects that we're working on. And then the other one is we are at the end of the life of the 2018 levy. And so we are going back out. The board put it on the ballot for August. It's a restoration, so it's the same tax, but we are restoring it back to what it was in 2018 so that we can continue providing all of the services that we provide and the increased demand that we have, and the increased demand that we see coming down the pike over the next 10 years as the population in Snohomish continues to grow and the population in Island County does as well. So, so those are some of the key high-level pieces that we have, but I am going to turn it over to Peggy to talk more specifically about what we're providing here, and then we're happy to take any questions that you have.
All right. Okay, we've got it. Hi, everyone. I am Peggy. I'm the manager of the Monroe Library just around the block on Village Way. Thank you for having us here today. I want to just share a few of the programs and partnerships that we're working on at the library that we have come to in hopes of really enriching our community here in Monroe and in surrounding areas and providing a lot of educational and entertainment related opportunities for folks in our community. So as far as programs go, we have a lot of programs that are targeted toward families and children. That's one of our most passionate user bases at the library. We have everything from our regular story times to a sensory stay and play that we held as a series earlier this year. That was a play group program that was designed to provide sensory-friendly toys and activities for people who wanted to learn more about sensory needs and for families who have children who have sensory needs that wanted a safe and comfortable place to play with their peers. We have also been doing a brand new series of programs relating to family holidays like Mother's Day, Father's Day, Grandparents' Day. So our initial one was Muffins with Mom, which was a story time that included muffin snacks and other activities to celebrate families and togetherness on Mother's Day. We also have some bigger programs for our families and children, and one of the recent ones was a Pokemon party, which had almost 200 attendees just this spring. One of the most fun things about that was we had a lot of different activities themed to Pokemon, but our staff are so passionate about including, educational and intellectual enrichment activities for our patrons that they hid STEM activities inside all of the Pokemon activities. And they had a scavenger hunt that was also designed to teach children how to navigate the library collection as well as finding the Pokemon. So those are some of the ways that we've been reaching out to our youngest patrons here in Monroe. But we also have activities for the older set. So we have tween gaming programs each month, and those are designed to provide a fun and safe space for teens and tweens to get together with their peers. And we also have an ongoing chaos hour where we play silly games, have pizza, and let the the teens, again, hang out with their peers in a safe and encouraging environment. And we've also been doing a lot to reach out to adults in our community. We have a writers group that's an ongoing program that has been drawing in consistent attendance since we started it about a year and a half ago. And in that, we allow folks to bring in their own personal writings, share them with others, and get critiques back so they can start to build on their journeys as an author. And we've been working on some other types of programming to see what adults really would like to see from us. So one thing we've done recently is do a watch party of an online program that the library was hosting. We had a program called One Book, One Coast with George Takei, which was a community reads program. And so we hosted a live watch party of the George Takei interview where folks could come to the library rather than just watching it solo at home on their computer. We had a good crowd, including one couple who said that they came all the way from Linwood because our library was the only one hosting a watch party, and they really wanted to be able to see that event in person and have more of a communal experience. So we're really proud to be able to try to find new ways to engage with members of our communities through our programs and activities. We've also had a number of really valuable partnerships at the library that I think have done wonders for our community. One was with the City of Monroe's Human Services Department. I worked with Rachel Adams to host a resource fair earlier this year, which brought together about a dozen of our community organizations to table and provide services and referrals to those in need. And it worked out especially well because we organized it to be on the same day as the point in time count, which counts our homeless residents here in Monroe. So we were able to have folks referred directly from the counting site to the resource fair to find assistance and hopefully get more support in areas where they need it. We also were able to work with the Salvation Army recently to host one-on-one appointments for flood recovery assistance after the flooding at the end of last year. So we were able to provide a lot of folks with needed resources to help recover from a pretty drastic situation. And we've also been enjoying working with the Monroe Historical Society to do usually about twice a year programs on local history topics. The most recent was on the 50th anniversary of the Monroe Historical Society, which was not only a wonderful program locally, but it was a great way to celebrate the America 250 commemoration in a local way. So those are some of the things that we've been doing here in the Monroe Library in hopes of really connecting with the community, providing folks with experiences that they enjoy and that they find valuable and enriching. And I hope that you can all come to the library soon, take a look, check out a book, and just come say hi. And thank you again for having us today.
We're happy to take any questions that you have. One thing I neglected to mention too that is one of the priorities, even though we are in the early learning space all the time, we're leaning into that even more. And the reason is simply because when you think of the district of Snohomish and Island County, focusing on that 0 to 3 age group, there are very few, if any, government agencies that are really focused on that. The schools really start to focus, for the most part, in the district, beginning with pre-K to 12th grade. And what's nice about Washington State is the state actually works with the public libraries so that we credential for free daycare workers. So we do workshops with them, and then we started our strategic plan actually with one of our large conferences that we had across the district for early learners, where we bring in professors from UW and then do the workshops with them. And we started our strategic planning kickoff with that group because we feel very strongly that if we're going to help support the parents, then we need to support the teachers who are working with them and the parents and all the caregivers as well. So we're trying to get feedback from them to see how we can change our services to better support them. Happy to take any questions.
Councilmember Fisher.
Not really any questions, just thanks for everything that you guys do. Been in the community obviously for quite some time. I've enjoyed the library numerous times, everything from just grabbing books or movies to setting up meetings. So love having that resource in our community. one thing I've always thought about is since the day I walked into the new building was for story time. And for me, I'm a little bit old, so Winnie the Pooh is a thing. But having actual characters outside the windows in the woods, when you're reading the story, have one of them go by. Somebody dressed up as Tigger. Like, I don't know. I know a guy that might do it. But no, it's just it's a great thing to have in our community, and that was one thing that I just thought would be super, super cool because it's such a perfect setting, right, for a lot of those stories. So thanks again for all the time you guys put in, and looking forward to all the stuff that's coming up. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Councilmember Fulcher.
I think that was Councilmember Fisher volunteering with his Tigger
Yeah.
outfit. So, you guys have been part of our family's life since my children were small, and I got them each their library card. And to this day, I still am a frequent user of Libby, and so my use of the library has changed. But I still thank you for what you provide for our community. It's been to many meetings there in the last few years, thanks to the Monroe Historical Society using your facilities. And just want to say thank you. Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a
Councilmember
great
Blair.
team.
I know you guys were doing a survey that was asking people what the future that they want for the library.
Yes.
Is that what is partially assisting in for the strategic plan? You're using that
Yes.
feedback? And then that's probably something you're gonna check back with people on. I thought that was really cool that you guys were asking people what they wanted from the library, so.
Thank you. We intend to complete it in late fall, early winter, and then we'll be reporting out. And then hopefully, if you can have me back here in 2027, I'll be able to report on the results of that and how we're using it to plan for the future.
Great, thanks.
Great. Councilmember Gamble.
Appreciate you coming tonight. I mean, it's a great resource. Started my kids, there too, and used to come out with just a big pile of books, and of course, then it was always like, oh my gosh, we forgot to take it back. But it's just a great. And I'm really glad to hear. I was not aware that there was a focused or strategic focus on the 0 to 3 years old. I know that there's a lot of data that shows that the more prepared we can have children. That's the whole Books from Birth, like the Dolly Parton Initiative, and I know the mayor and I, in former capacities on different boards, that Monroe Public School Foundation here, and then with the Y, it put a focus there, but that they're really, to your point, there hasn't been recently. So that's really good to hear that that you guys are filling that gap. I was not aware of that, so I learned something tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilmember Walker.
I used to come to the library because I grew up with dial-up, and the library, when it was built, had really fast internet. So I'm not gonna lie, I played some games on those computers. I'm sorry for those, but no, it speaks to you guys fill a very important role in our community and giving people a place to recreate and to learn. And I brought my toddler there as well the other day. The little area where kids play in the corner is awesome. He had a blast. So thank you guys for the work you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Beaumont.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for being here. Peggy, good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
So we do have a great partnership with the library, the Monroe Historical Society does, and we have for years, and I've got to say, it really enhances our programs. You do advertising for us. You often come up with names for our programs that are way better than we could ever come up with, and we really appreciate the advertising, and it's real cachet for us to be able to link to the library. So thank you so much for your support. Recently, I have had conversations with youth in the community, and they are looking for things to do. So I was delighted to hear about all of the things that you're doing for teens. I'm wondering if you could tell me what the attendance has been like with those programs?
It can vary. So our most recent Teen Chaos Hour program, so the Silly Games, had 16 people in attendance. It can be a little lower. Sometimes we have maybe 5, but teen programming, it ebbs and flows. Sometimes it's the weather, kids don't want to walk over in the rain, for example, and sometimes it's school schedules. But we have seen increasing numbers and more consistent numbers, and we do have some plans in the brainstorming phase for things to incorporate into our programming for teens during the upcoming school year. So we're hoping to build on the gains that we've seen from our current programs to bring in more kids who want to enjoy each other's company in a cool spot like the library and have some fun together.
And I just add too, we also are moving more and more into the arena of going where the teens are. So for sure, we've always been in the schools, but we're also trying to look and find people where they are as well. So
That's great. Are you seeing sort of the same group of students come, or is it a really different mix each time?
So what we have seen is it tends to start with the same group. So, we'll have that core group that comes over from the middle school at 2:30 each day. And once we kind of get them interested in a program, they start bringing their friends. And that's how it kind of gets that core group of attendees that tends to keep coming back.
That's great. I'm very happy to hear it. The YMCA, I was just at a meeting and heard about some of the team programming they have this summer, and so I think that this is really wonderful that we've got so many programs for teens in the community. The other question I had for you was regarding the levy lift. So according to my research I was doing while you were presenting, it looks like this is 2018. You're going to have a $1.9 million operating deficit in 2027. Is that correct?
that's correct. And
Okay.
yes.
And it looks like it would go from 30 cents per $1,000 of assessed value now, which has been a decline,
Right.
to 47 cents per $1,000. So if you've got a house that's about, $600,000 or $700,000, it would be about $100 a year increase. Does that sound about
we
right?
can, and we have we have the link. There's a really helpful banner on the homepage of the library, and then it takes you through a Q&A, but it also takes you to a link so that you can plug in what your home's assessed value is. You can
Great.
find
Okay.
it too, and then find out what that rate change will be for your house.
That's fantastic. My concern is just that we have the hospital also going out this year, and I'm just always thinking about our average citizen here trying to make ends meet with gas so high, groceries so high, all of that, and just the ask. We all love the library. There's no doubt that we all support it, but I'm just trying to keep in mind what they might be facing in terms of what they see on the ballot this year. So yeah, thank you so much, and thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Thank you. Thank you for Eric and Peggy for coming tonight. Really appreciate the library and the work you do in the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Next item is council member reports. Councilmember Blair, I'm going to start in the middle of the pack for tonight.
I do not have any reports for tonight.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Fisher.
Went to a surfer or Snohomish Regional Fire and Rescue community meeting the other day, which was good. They just kind of keep us posted on. They also have a levy that's coming up, and kind of some of their moves and what they're planning for in the future, which is great. Just got out of the Finance Human Resources. I haven't been here. We had a couple of weeks off, and then was unable to be here last week. Of course, I always bring up Highway 2. Another fatality over at the 59er Diner, if anybody knows where that is. It's on the other side of the pass. And again, I guess kind of bring these things up because it's not just our community, it's all of the communities. And plus we have community members that travel that way all the time, including this guy and my kids and all of that. So just bringing that up again. On a happier note, also went to the farmer's market and my wife put in her apple pie for the contest. And she won first place. So kind of fun. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to try it. But I think I might have another one in the future at some point in time here. So
Let's hope.
that's what I got.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilmember Walker.
We got I think there was an email sent to the council maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago from a gentleman who was talking about the dump jumps. If you've been there before, up above Walmart. I haven't been there in, 10 years or so, so I decided to go up there with my son and check it out so he could run around, and I'm shocked at how incredible that track is and how built out it's been. I'd recommend anyone go and see it now. It was pretty ironic. When I was there, there was a guy working on the jumps, and I was like, hey, is there any chance you sent an email to the city? And he was like, that was me. And so he told me all about the history of them, conversations with DOT that I thought were pretty interesting. I think it'd be really worthwhile for you guys to take a look at it and see if we can do anything to help preserve it, because it's an asset. Anyways, yeah. Today went to Lake Ty Park, was walking around. I just, in the same way that I'd say go look at the dump jumps, I know that everyone goes to Lake Ty Park pretty frequently. Every time that I am in our restroom area there, I just think that we can do better. So maybe in a future budget or parks capital facility conversation, I'd love to, I don't know, hear from other council members about their thoughts, even if it was something small, just renovations of that building or something. I think it's a conversation worth having. So that's all I have.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Gamble.
Yeah, I did. I attended the Rotary on Wednesday and got to hear, I think it's the 10th and final installment of the State of the City. Mayor did a great job, went over very well, articulated the message well, and represented us all very well. So that was great. And then I did attend the farmers market. Wasn't going to miss that. Your wife's pie was fantastic. So were the other 8 pies. I think I tried all of them. Yeah. So I was happy to serve. And MB served in that capacity. Yes. And then I had a good finance meeting right before this. So that's it.
Awesome. One of the perks of the job, being an apple pie judge. Yeah.
I wasn't the judge.
Oh,
I was there for moral support, and I judged the judges.
yes, I see. Yes. Councilmember Fulcher.
Thank you. I was also at the surfer meeting, and a lot of things to think through as we come to our ballots this time. I had the chance to sit down and visit with Ed Davis last week. That was wonderful. He was in town. I told him we think of him almost weekly when we say nothing to report. So, but also, if anyone wants any kittens, please let me know. I have like 6 to get rid of. So thank you. God bless America.
Thank you. Councilmember Beaumont.
Thank you. I would love to see Ed Davis. I did not know he was in town. Okay, I have quite a few things to share. First of all, the pie baking contest at the farmers market was a huge success. We had 8 pies and yes, Vicki Fisher won. And we had a woman from Index, brought her pie all the way from Index, wasn't even in a box or anything. She came in with this beautiful pie, carrying it, and she was second place. And then we had I'm trying to remember who got third. Oh, it was Jerry Simonson. Yeah, so Sherry and Jerry Simonson, both of them brought pies in, which was just incredible. And thank you for all the support from the mayor and Councilmember Gamble and Walker. And I saw Councilmember Fisher there supporting his wife. So it was really, really fun. And we just got a big kick out of it. And it was, again, part of our celebration of America 250. Liam was there, so thank you all for the city support. I finally got a chance to attend the Community Coalition last week, and it was really time well spent. It was wonderful. So I know council members Blair and Fisher have been attending those meetings, and you too, Councilmember Fulcher. But it was great to meet the team and learn more about what's going on. And I sub frequently and am in the schools, and so it was really wonderful to get just some feedback from what's happening at each of the different schools. I attended commencement last night, and it was wonderful up at Angel of the Winds, and got a chance to wish farewell to a lot of my kids I've had over the years. That was really wonderful. But my big news tonight that I'm very excited about, and Councilmember Walker shares in this, is we met yesterday with the assistant principal, Snohomish County Council member Jared Mead, and 2 teachers from Monroe High School, and we are bringing Future Leaders Academy to Monroe High School next year. So we're, getting the plan in place, but very, very excited. I texted Nate Nearing this morning and let him know, and he was very excited too. And that's something that really matters to both of us. And we may ask some of you to come in and do some teaching next year. We'll see as part of this program. But that was a really positive outcome, and I really appreciate the school district support and the teacher support in that. So thank you.
Awesome, awesome news. Councilmember Walker?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that Monroe Historical Society does so much to contribute to our city's culture and our environment. And you guys, our council member Beaumont and everyone else that works with the Historical Society were really working hard to make that event awesome. And there was a crowd surrounding it, and it was America 250 themed. It was like this is Monroe right here. And we've got a group of selfless people who's willing to put their efforts and energy into that. And it's very much appreciated. So.
Yeah, thank you. Next item on the agenda is extended agenda. Mr. Wortham.
For the 23rd, thanks, second day. Thank you. For the 6/23 meeting will be approval of the minutes. Liam will be discussing e-bikes, incorporating the latest law changes that came out last year. For the P3 meeting. At a regular council meeting, we'll have a state of the hospital address from Lisa LaPlante. Unfinished business is resolution accepting notice of intent to commence annexation for a Davis annexation by Amy Bright, and new business ordinance downtown commercial use table. That's fitness center zoning. That is bringing that into making sure that that's an allowed use down there from Lance, and Public Works report by Scott Peterson, because Jacob will be out of the office.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilmember Beaumont.
I just wanted to remind everyone that Councilmember Fulcher and I will be attending the AWC conference next week, but we will both be remotely attending P3 for me and regular council for both of us. Great, and I forgot to mention that Councilmember Hanford was also part of the Pie Fun on Wednesday.
Awesome, thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Ben, do you have an administrative report?
Only thing I had is just a reminder that June 19th, the city is closed for observation of Juneteenth.
Awesome. Thank you. Next item is mayor's report. Last Wednesday, as Councilmember Gamble mentioned, I did my last State of the City at Rotary, and I also presented on behalf of the city a certificate of appreciation to James Reyna. He left the community, moved back to California, but he's been a member of EDAB, Chamber, Rotary, just been a wonderful community member, so we wanted to appreciate him. And then went to, had a meeting with Mayor Witta from Sultan, and we talked about Highway 2 safety. So that is still on both of our minds. We're looking at possibly doing a safety summit between the mayors on Highway 2 in the fall. So I'll be looking for council support to help participate in that. So we're picking a date and looking at that. We did ask Carolyn Eslick, who is ending her term this year, at the end of this year, to co-chair the Safety Coalition, and she has agreed to do that. So I agree, Highway 2 safety is super important. We want to bring back that coalition. I think, starting with the cities that are on Highway 2 and the mayors, and bringing that back to, the forefront is important. So hope to get council support on that. And then I was at the farmer's market. I believe there's a picture of me eating pie. It was delicious. Just super appreciative of the work you did there, Councilmember Beaumont. Just really great. Thursday, staff had an all-staff barbecue. It was an all-staff meeting, and I just really want to thank the staff. Super, super fun. The games were fun. The food was good. The culture at the city is just really great. And I was 0 for 5 on the home run hitting, but next year I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna get better. So hopefully that works. Friday, Ben and I and Kate, because Lance is on vacation, had our quarterly meeting with the Master Builders Association. So I had a commitment to bring in the Master Builders and meet with them quarterly. I think meeting with developers, listening, how we can be better, you know, what they need, what we need, building those relationships. So I think we're doing really well with fostering that. We had a lot of great input from builders who have worked in this community for a long time. And then you never know what comes of it, because I talked about Kelsey, and one of the developers ran over there to take a look at it and then wanted to contact our broker to express maybe some interest. So you never know what comes out of those conversations and showing people what we're doing. So happy about that. Saturday attended Take the Next Step, their brunch fundraiser, and just a wonderful event. Sacred stories were shared, and really a great organization that does do a lot of work in our community. Chief Jolly represented the city and spoke at the event, and he did a phenomenal job, you guys. You would be really proud of him speaking on behalf of the city and talking at the lunch. It was great. And then Sunday, attended our Pride event at Sky River Park with Councilmember Beaumont. Thank you for coming up on stage. And we kicked off the welcome. Seemed like a great event. I had to leave fairly early to go up to Bellingham for a graduation, but great event, lots of vendors, lots of people out. So just really happy that we can provide that type of space for that event, which is all pretty much volunteer run and driven, so pretty good. I am going tomorrow night to the Master Builders elected official. Don't know if anyone else is going from the city. Okay, I will be there. It's in Mukilteo. Thursday I'm meeting with Congresswoman Del Bene's staff to talk about Highway 2 safety and to kind of get their support for our summit in the fall. So I'm meeting with her on that. And then just a reminder, I will be gone June 23rd through July 6th. Mayor Pro Tem Walker will be up here and run a fabulous meeting. I was really upset last time because Councilmember Beaumont told me that Walker ran such a good meeting. I'm like, what do you mean? And said it was so quick. He so efficient, got it done, and now there's kind of a race for efficiency, I think. So you've sparked my competitiveness. There are proclamations in your packet. I'm just gonna read a couple portions of a couple, and then I do want to read the whole proclamation for Father's Day. So I know we don't have anyone in the audience, but I do want to read it on the record. So one proclamation is recognizing June 22nd through the 28th, 2026 as Amateur Radio Week. So we are having an event, American Radio Relay League Amateur Radio Field Day will take place on June 27th and June 28th. And it's a 24-hour emergency preparedness exercise and demonstration of radio amateur skills and readiness to provide self-supporting communications without further infrastructure being required. So do you guys know where that is at, staff? Is it at Lake Tide? That's where it usually is. So I just wanted to put that out there if you are able to go to it. So I encourage residents and businesses to join me in thanking amateur radio operators for their service. Yeah, Councilmember Campbell.
If I remember right on that, they have a competition on how many public officials they can get out to that thing.
Oh.
That was from Brad Falberg. So if you do go, make sure and say Brad's the reason, because they keep score on how, so just for.
Brad would be the reason we would go, right?
Yeah.
For sure. And, cool. Yeah. Cool. it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is June 27th and the 28th down at Lake Ty. So if you're able to go down there, great. Would really appreciate that. Also, a proclamation recognizing June 19th, 2026 as Juneteenth. So just a portion to read. Juneteenth is a day for each of us to recognize and take authentic actions to reform policies, practices, and cultural norms that harm and discriminate against Black and African Americans, especially within our culture and our financial, legal, and justice and political systems. So I encourage residents, business owners, employers, and visitors to learn more about Juneteenth and to take part in Juneteenth celebrations on June 19th, 2026. And I hereby direct the flying of the Juneteenth flag at the City of Monroe's municipal campus beginning on Friday, June 19th, which is the recognized holiday, until Monday, June 22nd. So, and then the last proclamation is recognizing June 19th, 2026 as Father's Day. And since we have some fathers in the house, I'd love to read this. And whereas Father's Day is dedicated to honor remarkable men who strive and sacrifice all year, inspire us to reach great heights, and support us no matter what the challenges we face or the paths we chose, and whereas we celebrate the men who raise us, who love us unconditionally and do whatever it takes to set us on the road to success, and want nothing more than for us to lead happy, healthy lives, and whereas fathers are providers, community leaders, pillars of family, and through their example, they teach the future dreamers and doers the value of hard work, compassion, service, and personal responsibility. And whereas fathers help provide guidance, love, generosity, persistence, discipline, patience, integrity, help build our core and help us understand right from wrong. And whereas we give thanks to fathers who support us, mentor us, act as role models, who enrich our lives and shape our characters. Now, therefore, I, Patsy Cuddeback, Mayor of City of Monroe, Washington, do hereby recognize Sunday, June 21st, 2026 as Father's Day and proclaim Happy Father's Day, and encourage Monroe's residents and businesses to honor and express love and gratitude to all fathers everywhere. Happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I think that is it. So, any questions for me? That was a lot, it felt like. Okay, next item on the agenda is discussion on automated traffic safety cameras with Liam McCorkle. Come on up.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Council. I am back to you today with a discussion on automated traffic safety cameras, or a piloted speed safety camera program. So I'm going to try to keep my remarks brief. I want my time today to mostly be spent with Council discussion, you guys asking questions and debating how you want to move forward. With that said, there are two major questions that Council will need to discuss tonight that we are requesting. The first of which I ask at every Council meeting where this topic is brought up is, does Council want to move forward with an automated traffic safety camera program? If the answer is no, full stop, we can end the conversation there. If the answer is yes, the second question we would like Council to discuss tonight is, what is the recommended, or at least tentative recommended approach that Council would like to take moving forward as we are putting this into the Mayor's recommended budget for 2027-2028. So those are the two topics that I would like Council to discuss tonight. With that said, over the last 6 months, city staff have been engaging in some public outreach and some public engagement to help gather some additional feedback as requested by Council at the January 20th business meeting. So I summarized kind of the efforts that we partook in your agenda packets. As a brief summary, we compiled a speed safety camera webpage, a dedicated webpage that goes over all the details, the basic information, the FAQs of speed cameras. Our data that we see is between April 1st and June 9th. The webpage received 187 total views. We also engaged in social media communication, both through Facebook, our Facebook post receiving 6,860 views and 64 interactions, as well as Monroe Monthly, the mayor's monthly newsletter, which received at least 361 opens with 7 confirmed clicks directed towards the speed camera links. We also printed out flyers in both English and Spanish. Most of those were prepared and handed out for the other item, which was the Speed Safety Camera Informational Meeting, which was held on May 7th at 6 p.m. at Park Place Middle School. Some council members were there as well. That meeting was hosted by the city and included a presentation of our elected official. Councilmember Walker provided the opening remarks. The police department with Deputy Chief Ryan Irving presented, as well as myself on a basic overview of the program. Scott Peterson was also there to answer some more technical questions, and then there was a facilitated Q&A. With all of that, we received approximately 6 community members, who attended the informational session, 4 of which ended up filling out comment cards, which we provided to get additional feedback in an anonymous fashion. Can't talk. All of those comment cards are provided in your packet with all the personal identifiable information redacted, so you're free to look over that. We also took this item to the Economic Development Advisory Board in April to get initial feedback and answer their preliminary questions on the program as well. I will mention that after the informational meeting, the overall feedback that we received was positive. I mean, obviously it is a group of 6 people, so it is not representative of all of Monroe, but looking at it as a case study group, the overall feedback that we received was positive. So with that public engagement piece mentioned, if council does decide to move forward with the program and is going to ask the mayor to continue to push this through the process, staff did compile a recommendation that is up for your consideration. We included some alternates in your agenda packet as well. However, staff's recommendation is split up into 3 parts. The first of which is something that we have talked about before, which is to implement this program in a phased piloted approach. As we've discussed before, it is very difficult to predict human behavior, and when we implement these cameras, we are unsure about how much it is going to change driving speed. Obviously, we think it is going to decrease driving speed, but we are unsure by how much. So here we are left with a balancing approach between we need enough revenue to be able to recoup the cost that we're investing into the program, while at the same time we don't want to overburden the community with cameras that ends up overwhelming our court system and our police department with processing the new infractions that are being processed. So with that, we are recommended a piloted phased approach of just 1 or 2 camera locations to allow us to more carefully plan and understand the human behavior of implementing these cameras in Monroe. The second of which is camera placement. Where are we actually going to place these cameras? And the staff's recommendation is to place 4 stationary cameras at Park Place Middle School, both eastbound and westbound, as well as Frylands Elementary School, northbound and southbound. Based on our locational analysis, that equity analysis we performed last year, both Frylands Elementary School and Park Place Middle School had the highest potential violation rates for school zones. And this obviously implies higher levels of speeding in both zones, so therefore would have the highest potential impact on improving public safety if we are moving forward with implementing these cameras. The final part of this recommendation might be self-explanatory, but it is budget, and that is recommending the mayor to include a camera program in the mayor's recommended budget if a traffic camera program is something council wants to move forward with. Obviously, there are a number of costs that are associated with this program. We are going to have to reimburse PD for their time spent on the program. There are costs associated with the signage. There's costs associated with the warning period, with judicial time, the cost of hiring 1 to 2 additional court clerks to cover all of the new processing. All of that needs to be factored in if we are going to start this program in 2027 into the mayor's recommended 2027-2028 budget. So that is something we'll have to plan for. There's obviously revenues that are going to be included in that as well. So all of that is something that council needs to be conscious of and should be discussing tonight. So just as a summary, before I give it back to council for your discussion or any questions you might have, There's two big questions we need council to address. First, do we move forward with this program? Is this something we want to keep pushing forward? And two, what is that tentative approach that council wants to take? Is it what I just described and recommended, or is there another approach that council would like to take as we are trying to integrate this into the mayor's recommended budget? So I believe there's some motions up on the board if that is an approach council would like to take. So with that, I will conclude my report and hand it to the mayor.
Thank you. Council, questions? Councilmember Gamble.
Yeah, I know we've discussed this a lot. And I mean, personally, you actually made a comment there that I balked a little bit on. You said that we don't know. I mean, there's data analysis that shows, what we would expect from a reduction. So I think, there's a lot of data points there that we know that we can include if we go down the path of, hey, we want to do this, that we could incorporate it into the budget, because there's the initial, governance around it, and then it comes down once we start, the enforcement piece. For me personally, after we did the data analysis and we saw some of the speeds and some of the stuff that's occurring, we have to do something. And if it's not this, then what is it in order to correct some of the stuff that's going on? Because we're just basically gambling with people's lives, in my opinion, if we don't increase enforcement or whatever. And I know the chief has done that. We've done that from but when you look at the data that we saw associated to what happens when you institute these and how quickly it comes in line, it's really hard to sit here and say, no, we shouldn't do it, when you have that data that shows this is what's occurring in your community right now. Here's the speeds that are happening during the different hours. The ones that threw me for a loop was on Main Street, where it was like 70 miles an hour or whatever because of racing or whatever. And so I'm for it. I think we should move forward with a pilot program. I think we should look at all aspects, because I don't see nothing's been presented to me in an alternate fashion to address what the data that we now know, if that makes sense. And so that's where I'm at, and it sounds like there's a lot of people who want to talk.
Thank you. Councilmember Blair.
I do agree that we need to do something. The pedestrian safety is a huge issue. I don't think moving right to this traffic camera and citations is quite the right move. And with where this pilot program has cameras set up, those aren't even the areas that we're seeing a lot of the violations. There is a stoplight at Park Place Middle School, which does slow traffic. That's not. I drive kids to school and pick them up 5 days a week. That's not an area that I see violations of safety. And if we're really looking for safety, like you had mentioned, the highest violation rate, yes, there's more people that drive through the Frylands and there, but if our goal we need to stay focused on is safety, I don't think that this is gonna get the results that we're looking for. Something that the mayor had mentioned about the safety summit for Highway 2, we had 6 people come to that one thing. We had 6 other people from EDAB look at this. We've had 1 public comment, which I think his public comment is very valuable. That's what I'm afraid is gonna happen, that this program is gonna start out with us trying to make things safer, and it's gonna turn into a revenue, and then possibly even cost us money. I would love it if it makes money and gets everybody driving safe, and we get to do all these cool traffic calming with the proceeds, but I also think for $200,000, we could do a lot of other prevention measures. The RFI, the lighted crosswalk stuff, those are $5,000 a piece. We could add more of those. If you drive down Main Street, you don't even know how fast, you don't see speed limit signs. So we could do easy work on one-time setup, signage, and those radar flashing, a lot like the person on the public comments was saying. So I think we need more public engagement. Another thing that we just did with the Monroe Police Department was the Monroe Community Coalition, the police, and a couple of us members of council got together, and we've solved a huge problem that the schools were facing with youth. And that only happened because we got stakeholders together and got a bunch of ideas. And I would like to see us do something like that. Get the stakeholders, the school district, parents, commuting people, and get some more ideas out there. So I'm not for this yet.
Thank you. Councilmember Fisher.
I love the stakeholder idea and putting together a group of people to try and figure some things out. I differ a little bit on the camera thing. I feel like we have all kinds of warnings. I mean, we have speed limit signs. We have hours on there. And the speeding is not just on these two streets. I mean, I live downtown and I've had a couple people on my cameras probably doing at least 65 down my road. Running stop signs, literally bottoming out on the road because they're running stop signs. I think that the warnings are out there. You can just abide by the law. Would I rather have them be pulled over by a human police officer and explain circumstances and have that face-to-face contact? I absolutely would. But unfortunately, we're not there. I think now in this world when we have several people passing levies and passing bonds or trying to pass and they are failing, going that route and putting more personnel, more officers on the streets, I don't think is something that we can do right now. So I think this might be something that we can do for relatively cheaply and change hopefully some behaviors. I think that we have multiple roads that we could put them on. So I do like them. There are some things that I would change as far as like 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. I would love to see it at 24/7. Every time we bring up the baseline fine of 124, I think it can go up by state law to 143. I am all for 143. They're already getting a break. It's not a moving violation. It's basically a parking ticket. You're already getting a break for speeding. So I think that we're being pretty understanding there. The warning period, wondering if there's a way we can just put up signs and not activate the cameras to kind of keep costs down. So we can put up signs. Granted, there are already warning signs out there. That's a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit that's posted. So there's already warning signs out there that people are ignoring. And then the term of the contracts with the companies, I'm curious about. You know, is this something that we renew every year? So if it doesn't go well, we can just cancel it and say, man, that was a good pilot. We definitely need to start thinking about some other things. Or is this a 5-year contract where after 4 years the state takes a quarter of our revenue? So I was just curious about some of those things too. Thank you.
Yeah, and at least for the question about the contracts, typically they are just on a year-by-year basis, so they could be canceled at any time.
Okay. Councilmember Walker.
Thank you. The thing that keeps catching my eye is the court costs, because that seems like the hidden real problem in the comparison of the costs and benefits. Can you try to recap what you've seen or the potential cost increases, especially the potential long-term ones that we might still have to endure even if we cancel the program after a year?
Sure. So I think the largest one, and potentially what you're referring to, is increasing the judge's compensation. After speaking with our court administrator and the judge, adding any sort of camera program is going to require an additional full 8-hour court day. So I believe, just off the top of my head, that's going to be an additional $47,000 to the judge's contract. And once you increase that amount for the judge's contract, it's never going to be possible to bring it back down until that contract is terminated. So we could decide to move forward with this program. We would have to go through the process of increasing the judge's compensation, $47,000, and then if the next day council decided to remove that program, we would still have to be paying that $47,000 cost, even though we're not getting any revenue from the traffic camera program to reimburse that. So that's one factor. The other, of course, is hiring an additional full-time court clerk, potentially 2 full-time court clerks, I've heard. And even though that can fluctuate and potentially change, if council ends up getting rid of the traffic camera program, you will still have to decide, are we going to keep those staff, or those staff we're going to have to get rid of? And those are full-time staff costs of over $100,000 per court clerk. So those are decisions that council has to decide. My initial analysis shows that those costs would be covered by initial program. Over time, I don't know how much it's going to decline and if it will continue to cover those costs fully. But those are long-term costs that the council will have to plan for and expect for.
We got an email as well from a technician, a traffic technician from another city that has implemented this program, and he had the same warning that this was really well intended when we implemented it and it was going well, but they dropped off, and now we're trying to figure out how to make up for the deficits that we're incurring because of them, between the increased court costs and the potential deficit we might find ourselves in the future from this program. I'm a lot more hesitant and worried about implementing it. I agree that the data is concerning. I would be interested to hear a cost comparison between the potential of adding another patrol officer, one that's strictly dedicated to patrol, as opposed to increasing those long-term costs at the court, or what we may be paying for in the red with the cameras. So I'm in Councilmember Blair's camp with maybe exercising some patience or hesitation on this.
Thank you. Councilmember Beaumont.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree. I think that we have some budgetary constraints now that we possibly didn't a year ago, 2 years ago, and I think we all agree it would be great to get them. We definitely need them. We've got a lot of speeding, a lot of sort of reckless driving, and I think everyone up here wants to be known as a community that cares about pedestrians and cares about safe pathways to school and getting around. But I am a little nervous about jumping into this with the stationary costs that you're describing. I also think that I love the idea of a collaborative community project of, yes, we only got 6 people at that meeting at Park Place, but you got to keep trying. Maybe we could just put the word out that we really want to have a community conversation about this with stakeholders. Just keep trying to get people together. And I think that would make us look not only that we are concerned, but also that we want to work as a community with our other groups. And here's some other ideas. And see if we can get something going that way. The 2 raised speed bumps on 179th between 154th and Main Street have slowed traffic down. I travel that way all the time, and maybe there are some other things we could do that, the flashing beacon, crosswalks and things like that. I think it's worth exploring before we jump into this, because there are fixed costs to it no matter what. And we are in a budgetary position where we need to really carefully look at our expenses. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I go to Councilmember Gamble, Councilmember Fulcher, do you want to make some comments?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was listening to both sides, and I get it. We have a serious problem with our traffic violators. I don't know how many of you have also been passed on Main Street in the center lane. What craziness is that? The speeding is out of control. I remember a time when I taught my little kids to cross Main Street because Grandma would be waiting on the other side. There's no way I would do that now, because there's a lot of very selfish people who would just rather respond to their texts while they're heading down the street at 40 miles an hour than watch out for pedestrians. We have a serious problem. I totally agree with the way you said it, Tammy. The way we had a bigger budget in mind, some more availability when we first looked through this, and the idea that we would have to institute some costs and stick with them no matter what happens with the cameras also makes me hesitate. So I want to attack this. I want to throw a year's worth of expenses of what it would have been for the traffic cameras at some physical barriers to getting people to slow down. But I am not quite ready to make that bound forward to the cameras, just because I'm not sure it's the most responsible thing right now. Neither is losing one of our citizens to a bad traffic. But anyway, I'm kind of heading towards the non-camera way at this point, but I am so willing to discuss this.
Thank you. Councilmember Gamble.
So I guess I'm a little confused, because we're, the pilot came from us, the recommendation that we wanted this to focus and take a look at what it would be for the schools specifically. So that's why the two that are there, the recommendations on Park Place Middle and Fort Frylands, that came specifically from us, concerns from council because of the feedback that we got. The other piece of this is that it's not, I mean, the way that we've talked about this, because, you know, I was here when we talked about this and this whole friggin' room was filled, and we went till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. This is not a revenue generation. Actually, there was a statement that I think it was Councilmember Walker that said, you know, hey, I'm concerned about this because the revenue dropped off. That's great. That's the whole intent of the program. And I think that's what Bullet 2 is about, right? Is that, hey, we all agree we have a problem. The only thing I've seen from a data perspective that we know based off of all of and maybe we need to bring that back, that data packet that we looked at of all the different cities and what happened when they instituted, you know, a camera program in respective areas and the reduction that they saw. So we all consumed that data and saw that. There was a cause and effect associated to that installation, right? And then Councilman Walker, you just basically validated that with the comment from, you know, another municipality that said, yeah, they basically they probably budgeted wrong, right? They projected revenues that were going to offset, so they didn't operationalize it into their budget. That's part of that number 2 exercise would be to use the appropriate math to make sure that that doesn't happen to us, right? You anticipate the blip at the beginning. We want the correction, right? If we're just continuing to make money, then we probably should rip them out because it's not changing behavior. The whole idea is what is the most effective, because I agree with all you on all of the stuff you're suggesting. Well, we've been talking about that for 15 years. Different speed bumps, different this, different that. When we had them in, we did see a reduction. So I guess from my perspective, what I look at is that I don't like cameras. I'll be honest with you. I don't like them at all personally, but I have data points that say, okay, if I do this, I get this result. And it's not just from our own data, it's from municipalities across the state of Washington. Now I've got data in front of me that says, hey, oh, by the way, you have this occurring. We can show you. This is what's happening. These are the speed. This is what's happening. And if you don't take action, this is going to continue to happen. So if we're not going to, and then what we're talking about here, because we only do a biannual budget, if we don't move on this, then we're not going to be talking about this as an option potentially until 2029.
Well, that was a tie. Councilmember, are you finished, Councilmember Gamble? Yep, okay. Councilmember Fisher.
Yeah, great discussion. I think some of our other things that we're talking about, whether it's the flashing lights or the speed humps or an officer, they all have a cost. So it would be kind of nice to maybe go through some of that. Like we talked about some of the pedestrian flashers. It's about 15 grand to put up 2 of those. I don't know how many of them we're gonna wanna put up. The speed humps, I think, were also about 15 grand. So as we start putting these in, that cost, we talked about our budgetary stuff. I'm not so sure that that's gonna actually play out very well for us either if we start looking at it when we don't have any kind of a revenue source coming in to actually complete some of these projects. And then an officer, I actually don't know if anybody can speak on it. I don't know what hiring a new officer is. I know it's when we start talking about wages and benefit packages and academies, we're gonna get up well past the $100,000, $150,000 mark. And then they're not even gonna be really ready to go until they have that time in the street with their FTO. So I think if it's something that we want to start to see some results, I think this is probably the direction. I mean, we've talked about it a lot. I would like us to actually, as I mentioned earlier, be more strict with the camera hours and the fines. But I think we at least need to start planning for what this revenue is going to come in. We can be very conservative with that to hopefully calm us with our budgetary concerns, because I definitely have those too, for sure. And then I was curious what's going on with WASDOT and what that looks like going across like some of our cross streets with Highway 2.
Sure, we haven't directly engaged WashDOT with that conversation yet. The main reason being, if we do put a traffic camera on US 2 as part of the pilot program, it will single-handedly overwhelm the courts with the amount of tickets that is going to be processing. So what staff decided to do is propose this piloted program starting in the school zones, and then while we are evaluating that program, then we can reapproach WashDOT to better evaluate what those impacts might be if we wanted to expand the program.
Great, thanks. And it's kind of a funny thing to think about, right? So the busiest spot where we would capture the most offenders in a very deadly highway, we can't actually do yet because we don't have the power to do it. So, or the finances to expand our court system. So it's kind of a funny thing to think about too. We can't actually afford to put one on where we have most of our offenders. So I think if we kind of ratchet that up a little bit and get some of these out within our smaller streets, and then hopefully getting out there to then bring this to the Highway 2 Safety Coalition also, which I think would be important to describe that we as a community, as a city of Monroe, are trying to do something about the safety on Highway 2. So it's a big conversation. So thank you for your time.
Yeah. Councilmember Walker.
Thank you. This is a conversation, I think, around stewardship, and that includes safety and budget. My concern is about the cost that we will incur no matter our decision after this pilot, which it's a pilot. Just because we decided to start looking into the data on this doesn't mean that we have to be fully committed to it. And to decide not to at this point isn't being inconsistent. We literally asked staff to look into the data and what the cost of this would be, and now we're looking at them and we're making a decision. I don't think it is financially irresponsible to say that there is a program that may end up costing us a lot, and we may not be able to claw back some of those increased costs no matter the situation. The state has shown that they're going to implement programs to take away some of that revenue. What if in the next session or the session after that, they decide that they want 75% of the revenues from the cameras? And we've already increased our court costs by $100,000 a year, and we're in a contract with the camera companies, and all of a sudden, we're the council that put up these cameras that we're losing $100,000 a year on anyway. I don't want to make that decision. I think that there absolutely is funds, as we learn about in the transportation capital fund presentation we got last week, for those one-time capital installations like flashing beacons, the speed bumps. That money is there, and it's not anywhere near as much of a commitment as a $50,000 increase in court costs minimum in eternity because we wanted to try a pilot. The last thing I would say with regard to the police officer, I don't mean to run away with that conversation. I just mean there's other alternatives that we can look at, whether it's these single installations, policing strategies, who knows? I just want to say that there are other options that we can explore still without saying we're turning our back on the data that we got. I know we all care, so thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Blair.
I'm going to ask the question to you. I don't know who can answer this, but is that something that the council can ask for the police department to focus on the speeding? If it's not a question we can answer right now, it's just a question then, I guess. So, different subject. On the $50,000 a year that no matter what we're going to have to pay for the judge's salary. I mean, for $50,000 a year, we could start implementing more of these single installation things. The best feedback that we've been getting is from people saying, wow, you guys added these flashing beacons. It's really helped on Frylands. It's really helped on Main Street. Let's do more of them. Because really, if we add these two for the pilot, that's not going to take care of where Kyle was talking about on his street. It's not going to help on the rest of Frylands where we're still having a lot of people complain. This is a pervasive issue for our whole city, and just doing it in these two areas is not going to solve the problem. And I do think we have $47,000 a year in our budget right now for traffic calming or pedestrian improvements. And I think we start using that and see if we can make improvements.
Thank you. Liam?
Yeah, just a quick comment. Good discussion being had. The one clarification I might make is the difference between just implementing those programs versus doing the cameras is the traffic camera program has revenue coming in that would theoretically pay for the judge's contract. Obviously, if we cancel that contract, the point still stands that you made. The other point that I wanted to quickly make is the revenue that is generated from this program is meant to be divvied back into those traffic safety improvements that you're talking about. So it is meant to generate a revenue stream as a medium-term solution to allow us to invest in things like speed bumps into those rapid rectangular flashing beacons while we have that revenue coming in. And that doesn't just have to be spent on the roads where we have the traffic cameras. In fact, state law requires us to be able to divvy that into places that have higher crash rates, higher crash risks, and also places that are have lower income as well. So all of that has to be factored into the analysis as well.
Thank you. Councilmember Gamble.
You stole my thunder. But because where I wanted to go to is like, are we having, oops, sorry. Is this a revenue discussion or a safety discussion? Right now, I know we're going to talk about budget and budget impact. That's why what I'm really looking at is I'm all in on number 2, right? From the perspective of, how would we operationalize this in? And Mr. McCorkle brought up a lot of the stuff that I was going to say is because there is offsetting components. This is a data exercise from a budgeting perspective, right? And we know projections based off the revenue would come in. We know what, potentially what the fall off would be because that's what we would want. You're still going to have some, but you're going to have a fall off, but there'll be some offset, right? The piece that I don't know, and this is where the additional questions I was going to ask, is we always will say speed humps, pedestrian flashers, all of these other different calming devices and stuff that we've talked about for 20 years. Where is the data that I can look at that shows the impact of those pre and post installation like we see when you showed me the data associated with cameras? Do we have any of that we could utilize that we could at least do a comparison? Because they're good points.
Yeah, not directly that I'm aware of. I could reach out to Jake and our city engineer Scott to pull that TomTom data again. We could look at places like 179th, see what the impact of those speed bumps were. I would assume that there is definitely an impact. I am not sure what the difference would be between the impact of a speed bump versus a traffic camera.
Yeah, I think that's important, from a strategic perspective, and us looking at it as like, hey, we have an issue, we're going to address it. If it's not this, then here's our strategy over here, and here's what it was before, here's what we spent, here's what it is afterward. But it's based off of, our goal is, what is the best way to, try to eliminate them. So I'm going to be looking at it from that perspective. What does the data tell us is the best way to go? And then based off of that, we make a budgeting decision on what's the true cost, and can we operationalize that into the future so it's not, take a hit. Some of them, I think, what we've heard previously is that a lot of the municipalities didn't anticipate the drop-off, and which is funny because that's what you're trying to achieve. That would be great. Okay, thanks. But I am, I understand, and I think the piloted piece part was the whole. What I'm hearing is it's not so much a pilot. It's hey, this is how we would ease into it, and we're going to use the data from that. You can call it whatever you want. But then the second part, but from my perspective and what I'm hearing even from other council members is, hey, these two sectors, it's more of an all-inclusive strategy that covers all of the zones that we got the data on, right? That we can say, here's our strategy on, to go after it, and here's the data that shows the different impacts, and here's the cost associated. And then we can make an informed decision because from my seat, I want to be able to be in a position as we come to the end of the year, because we're going to be creating this biannual budget. I want a program in the budget to address safety for this. And whether it's cameras or it's a composite of traffic calming devices or whatever, but we probably need more data to put us in a position so we can feel confident about that. Now, we know we got it for the cameras, we could get it for the other, that'd be great.
Councilmember Beaumont.
Thank you. This is a great discussion. This is a tough one, and it is. It's budget, safety, it's all of these things. I think some of us are just leery of, you talk about the drop-off. Well, if we have the drop-off, then we have a stationary judge salary. That's $3,000 more. And then we have the fixed costs. So that's one of the issues for me. I'm going to put on my marketing and publicity hat here and talk about a grassroots effort throughout the community, all the stakeholders, like Councilmember Blair was talking about earlier. We all know we have a problem. Personally, I think it's cell phone use. I think people are on their cell phones and have been, and it's increasing, and they're not paying attention when they're driving. We have a lot of new people moving into the community. It is a problem. There's no doubt about it. But what I would like to do, and again, we won't know if we're going to get anybody to actually participate in this with us, but I would like to just throw it out to the community, make it sort of a community effort, hey, we know we have a problem. Let's get together, have a big meeting somewhere, maybe it's at Park Place, I don't know where, and just invite everybody to come and just say, what are your thoughts? What can we do about this? Start a community discussion, and that way it's kind of a grassroots effort, everybody's involved, or at least they have an opportunity to be involved if they want to, and just talk about some of these issues. I'm all for cameras. I think they're great. I think we are in a budget situation where we have to be really, really careful with what we do. And I wish I felt strongly enough that I could just say, yes, let's go for it, because I also like to play hardball, and I would like Monroe to be known as a city you can't speed in, that we have cameras and you better be careful when you go to Monroe, by golly, because you're going to get in trouble. And that would, I think, expand outside of school zones to maybe some of these areas where we're seeing a lot of speeding. I think it would help immensely, but I am nervous about it. But that's something, and maybe it's too kumbaya, I don't know, but I think we could just say, hey, the mayor's initiative or a mayor's program, or, council invites you as a community to come together and address a big, big issue in our community that's a safety issue, and just see where it goes. Why not? Just an idea. Thanks.
Councilmember Walker.
Amazing conversation. Thank you guys very much. Is there anything that we could do to adopt some kind of, I don't know, council project or city project of commitment to funds for kind of an aggressive capital program on this? And I don't know, in the next budget, like I know if there was a initiative of the city to improve landscaping or something, we could probably find a way to prioritize some funds in it. I think that it'd be worth considering doing a prioritization of capital funds for the beacons, the signs, radars, that kind of thing. Yeah, we've got the data to back it up. And
Yeah. Well, just to let council know, beacons, sidewalks, pedestrian safety are a focus of mine, and working with staff on how we can designate some funds to have more sidewalks in areas that don't have sidewalks, which make maybe certain neighborhoods safer, is very important to me. The beacons, I think, are really important to me, and I agree, I walk everywhere, and so, I'm looking at ways with the staff to go, how can we designate some funding to fund these things? So that is something we are working on at the city. I'm sensing, and you guys tell me if I got this right, doesn't sense that that council is not ready to move forward with the recommended motion by what I've heard tonight. I did hear maybe bringing back some data if we can have it on areas where we did put other traffic calming measures, whether we saw a downtick in accident speeding, like those roads became more safe. So that's something we can look into, right? And see, like on 179, for example, by putting in those humps, what's the data say now versus pre-humps? Did there, was there lessening of tickets? Was there less accidents? So we can look and see if we can bring that data back to council, because I think it's a data point that I heard people ask for, and then maybe continue the discussion around safety in general, which, to be honest, P3, is it P3 next week is going to talk, at our public safety, talk about, P3 is going to talk about e-bikes, which is another factor of safety in our community. So there might be some connection there to move forward. So, yeah, Councilmember Fisher. Yeah. Oh, no, I was just to say, so I'm hearing not a consensus. I'm not hearing that we want to, I mean, somebody can make a motion if they absolutely want on the floor. But I'm not hearing that we're going to move forward with a motion. So
Yeah,
tell me if I'm wrong.
I get the same feeling as you do. For me, I am in favor of both of these motions. I love the grassroots thing. I love reaching out to the public. Unfortunately, I think when we start doing that, we're talking years down the road. I mean, we've done community outreach with our homeless problem, with our drug issues, and we're in that over a dozen years now. So we know that this is something that is going on that we need to take care of. I love the grassroots thing. I think it's great. I think it should go along with the requested actions that we have before us today. So just so you know, I'm for these.
Council can make a motion, so that is an option if council wants to make a motion. So I guess I would ask, is there a motion that needs to be made tonight? Or does anyone want to make a motion? Councilmember Gamble?
I'm fine with, I'm for both of these too, because I don't have anything else to tell me that we're gonna get the same reduction in the incidents that we've had occur. It's the only thing that I've seen in a data perspective, and I wasn't for cameras, and until you put that in front of me, I was like, well, I mean, how can you look at this data and not want to try to move? And then the grassroots, all the other stuff I am for too. The only other thing I would bring up on the grassroots, if you remember when we reviewed the data, there's a significant portion of these folks are not in our community. We are a pass-through community. So you will hit and we joked about, I think there was a lot of us that joked about it, like, yeah, I'll put this in and I'll be the one getting the ticket because I'll forget about the dang thing. But you do create that as the pass-throughs, that's right, Monroe has, and it slows down that are not participants in our community, but they are just, they're going through on 203, they're cutting through town because they don't want to sit, on 2 or whatever the case may be. So I'm for both, I think, and we also have a council member that's not here. So, that's another thing. I am all for if we could bring it back and maybe have those additional, data points. I've got enough, but I think maybe it might help if we see, and maybe there's some stuff, maybe you can use the new AI policy and do some research on, what the municipalities have seen with calming measures, what's the, traditional reduction or whatever the case may be, so.
Okay. Thank you, council.
Good job, Liam.
City
This is
Administrator,
the gift
yeah.
that keeps on giving for you, and I appreciate his work all the time. He's done
Yeah.
a lot of work on this over the last year or so. So, job, Liam.
Thank you, Mr. Wortham. There is no need for an executive session this evening, so there being no further business and no objections, the meeting will be adjourned. Okay, hearing no objections, the meeting is now adjourned. Councilmember Walker, did you have some, or Fisher? No? Okay.